Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be with you here today. I was thrilled to be asked to join this year's Peace Talks, and even more so to hear about the theme of the conference, Better Together. This theme raises incredibly important questions that lie very close to my heart and that have helped shape my life and career for the past 10 years. 10 years ago, I started a movement against violence after a Swedish teenager was beaten to death in Stockholm. This young person was only one of all those who every year die as a result of gang-related crime and assaults. Nevertheless, this tragic event had an enormous impact on me personally, but also Sweden as a nation. For me, this event was a turning point. Being 15 years old at the time, I was deeply affected by this tragedy. I felt that the threat of violence had come to affect my everyday life and the lives of those around me. My friends and I no longer felt safe walking the streets of our own city. And we felt that Sweden had changed, and we were worried about the development. And a lot of people around Sweden seemed to feel the same thing. We were tired of hearing the news reports about the violence among youth. It had to come to an end. I decided to act. And in an attempt to gather my friends to discuss what we had all experienced, I created a group on Facebook called Save Us from the Street Violence. The number of members in the group grew tremendously fast. And the group quickly went from being a forum for a couple of my friends to having over 100,000 members. And remember, this was 10 years ago when Facebook had about 500,000 users in Sweden. Together, we'd started a movement, and I was completely overwhelmed by the interest and support people showed by joining the group I had created. At this point, I also knew that we had to channel this interest and support into something concrete and actionable. We had to turn likes and shares into real action. And the first step about that was to arrange a manifestation in Stockholm. 1 week after the group reached 100,000 members, over 10,000 people from all over Sweden gathered in a manifestation with one thing in common. We all wanted to put an end to violence. And by gathering this many people around our cause, we sent a clear message to politicians, to parents, to youth, to society. With the support of people, organizations, and companies all over Sweden, and a lot of attention from the media, what had started as a movement on Facebook quickly turned into an organization with hundreds of volunteers. During the coming years, hundreds of debates and manifestations against violence were held and organized all over Sweden. We mobilized parents to walk the streets of their neighborhoods at night. We arranged school conferences and reached out to local politicians. We managed to create real change, and we started a nationwide movement against violence. So, how was all of this possible? Well, embracing the opportunities of new information technologies and social media is probably one answer to that question. In my case, I used technology to gather people on the internet. However, as inspiring as that was, it was still only the first step in creating real change. We managed to channel people's willingness to take a stand into real action, which led to people going out in the streets and actually taking a stand and engaging themselves against violence. We took the debate from social media to the dinner tables of Swedish families. And yet again, we transformed likes into true activism. And this brings us to the question that I want to leave you with today. Today, it's quite easy to take a stand by liking, sharing, retweeting, you name it. And this is all great, but has it become too easy to take a stand and feel a part of a change? There are so many examples of the true power in platforms such as Facebook and Twitter. In the world of today, many argue that activism has become a regular part of our daily lives. However, from my point of view, I'm not so sure that I agree about that. In my opinion, we've seen a tremendous growth in slacktivism during the past years. Yes, slacktivism. A word combined by the two words slacker, meaning lazy, and activism. The social media revolution has made it possible for people to show their care for a cause, voice their opinion, and feel like they're making a difference. But in all honesty, how much change can really come from a like? People actually interact with each other more than ever today. But with the shift from analog to digital, I also see a distressing development. It seems that we're moving towards a society in which people care more about each other on social media, but at the same time, less about each other in real life. And a very upsetting example of that is that witnesses to violence, now more than ever, use their phones to film the assault instead of actually trying to stop it. And yes, it will always be hard to force people to take action, especially when their own lives might be at stake when doing so. However, that one life may depend on someone to take action. I think my story is an example of a very significant difference between likes on social media and real action, which is probably the reason why I was invited here today to tell that. If there's one message I would like to leave you with today, it is that moral courage, activism, and engagement in real life outside of social media is actually becoming less and less common. And it is our job to turn that around and turn this development around to something better again. We have to reignite true engagement and activism again. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And all of us in this room are responsible for reminding ourselves, but also the next generation, of the importance of standing up for your beliefs through real engagement. I'm convinced that we can make a change for the better if we work in line with the theme of this conference, better together. And just as all these people who engaged themselves against violence 10 years ago managed to start a movement, I'm also sure that we can do the same again. Because as I said before, only action can truly change the world. Thank you all.